Welcome to another Ask a Marine live session. My name is Lieutenant Henderson. I'm with Marine Corps Recruiting Command, and today we have Lieutenant Alexander Craig, which is a Ground Intelligence Officer in the Marine Corps. He just recently starred in our newest advertisement, A Nation's Call. So for those that you have not seen A Nation's Call, our newest advertisement, you can check it out on our Facebook page or marines.com. Lieutenant Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. So you just recently starred in A Nation's Call, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. So how was it being in a commercial?
I gotta admit it wasn't anything that I ever thought that I would be a part of, but it was an honor. It was a great experience, awesome opportunity.
Yeah, working on set with real Marines, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we don't use actors in any of our commercials or advertisements. So that's why it's an integrated part, of the process is finding those key Marines to play themselves, as well as Nation's Call encompasses many new vehicles, aircraft, and technology. You strip all that away, and what do you have? You've got the fighting spirit, the skill, and the will of the Marine, which is the backbone behind the Marine Corps. We're going to go into a little further depth about the commercial and what it is actually that Lieutenant Craig does on a daily basis, and how his role in a commercial came into play. So, Ground Intelligence Officer, right?
Yes.
Okay. How does that correspond to your part in the commercial?
Okay, so as a ground intelligence officer, you have two MOSs. The first being infantry, because you go through infantry officers course in Quantico, Virginia. So therefore, you earn the infantry MOS. So therefore, you have the ability to lead a rifle platoon in combat situation. So that is how the commercial relates to my role as a ground intelligence officer. We have a very versatile MOS, so therefore I could either be conducting analysis or I could be conducting a raid with a platoon. You never know.
No, that's good stuff. Now, if you have any questions or any comments or whatnot, put it in the comments section. We're going to try to get to those as many as we can in the next 45 minutes or so. So, we got, okay, your MOS, Ground Intelligence Officer. All right. Now, in the commercial, you got the spot on top of the roof. Now,
Right.
You have Marines behind you, so you're actually leading Marines in the
Right.
situation. All right. Now, all right, so what are your responsibilities in that role?
So on a day-to-day basis, normally I have, on the intelligence side, I have a team of Marines who work under me. I supervise and I manage them. I task them out day-to-day based off of the CCIRs, which are Commander's Critical Information Requirements. We get those and we have to work to find an answer for the commander in order for him to make a decision. And that can be in country or in a training exercise in the field.
So we're at Camp Pendleton right now. You conduct many exercises out here at Camp Pendleton?
Oh yes, we just recently conducted Steel Night 18 back in the month of December, and we're also about to conduct our MEF, or Marine Expeditionary Force level exercise within a couple of weeks here.
All right, solid. Yeah. All right. Now, how would you be involved in a situation like the battle that is showcased in A Nation's Call?
So, what intelligence officers, specifically ground intelligence officers, do is we are primarily focused on the enemy's capabilities and their assets. All right, so for each section of the Marine Air Ground Task Force, you have the G3 who focuses on operations, and then you have the G2 who focuses on intelligence. G3 focuses on friendly operations. Intelligence focuses pretty much on the deep fight and how the enemy is affecting the battle space and how they could affect our scheme of maneuver.
Like in the commercial, you have, we showcase a ship-to-shore objective, over-the-horizon objective, our capabilities. So on an amphibious warship, you see V-22 Ospreys taking off the deck, and as well as the F-35. Now, you have Marines get inside the Ospreys, and those are troop transports. So you can roughly get about 24 combat-ready Marines in there and shove them off, and they can go inland about 200 miles plus. The V-22, the Osprey, has many capabilities. It has turboprop capabilities, which is speed, and it also has the same similarities as a helicopter, so it can take off vertically and it can land vertically. Now, the AAVs, the amphibious assault vehicles, and the LAVs, more of the the bigger type vehicles we have in the commercial, those are also troop transports as well. So the AAVs can get Marines from the ship, and it can get Marines to shore. Same thing with the AAVs, more or less a reconnaissance aspect, right? So
yes.
As a ground intelligence officer, would you coordinate with the LAVs on the ground?
Well, with the LAVs, we would, to an extent. So for ground intelligence, we collaborate a lot with reconnaissance. All right, so you might hear the term ISR, which is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Recon Marines tend to use LAVs quite a lot, so that would be their mode of transportation.
Okay, solid. Also in the commercial, you've got a Marine throwing a drone. That's the Raven. So Marines actually operate those drones.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Drones actually provide quite a lot of imagery and full motion video to intelligence, so we can better assess the situation and give the commander more vital information so he can make a decision.
So before the Marines go in, they have somewhat of an idea what they can expect on the ground.
Absolutely. That is our primary task, is to provide the commander timely and accurate, effective information that can be generated into actionable intelligence.
Nice. All the Marines you're working with on the commercial, infantry Marines.
Right. Those guys are some heavy hitters. I got to tell you, they each and every one of them vetted me to make sure that I was qualified to lead them, even in this commercial, as Marines do. We're fighting culture.
Warrior ethos.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what's expected.
So in commercial, you'll see like at the ships and the AAVs, the LAVs, the aircraft, and they'll more or less disappear. And that's what that's representing in the commercial. Is you take all that away, and you still have the fighting spirit, the ethos of the individual Marine, and that's what it takes to fight and win battles. So let's talk a little bit more about once the Marines are on the ground. So you're leading those Marines. As far as the skill and the will of the Marines going into those situations, what would you say is like more vital as far as the will of the Marines? All the capabilities, all the technology, all that good stuff.
I would say absolutely the will of the Marines. So the Marine Corps in general is known for not having as much as the other branches, all right, asset-wise. So we have always been known to do more with less. So with that speaking, that goes hand in hand with the Marines' fighting spirit and their ability to adapt to any given situation, whether they have those amazing elements and assets that the MAGTF can provide or not. If you tell a Marine to go chop down a tree, he's going to come back hands bloody, but he's going to come back with that tree.
That's good stuff.
So.
You talk about doing more with less, and that relates back to the uniqueness of the Marine Corps with the Marine Air Ground Task Force and the MAGTF, which its innate abilities to operate in an expeditionary mindset and nature, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So not having all those assets allows us to be able to maneuver quickly, right? And then I guess you say farther inland than a larger force.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we got a few questions coming in. So how's the Marine Corps, using technology like the drones? Is that a growing field in the MOS, I guess you could say, in the Marine Corps?
I would say yes, and our Commandant would say yes as well. The drones are very vital in providing that actionable intelligence that I was speaking to earlier. So in order to allow us to conduct surveillance from afar while also keeping our Marine assets safe from imminent danger, we have to deploy those drones and stuff so they can collect information on the battle space before we deploy our combat troops into those battle spaces and expose them to that danger.
Nice. As far as the technology that's showcased, there's a few, looks like an iPad in the commercial, and that's a form of cyber measures that we were taking in the commercial in an operational environment. And you have Marines that are operating those systems that have various backgrounds. They're not just infantry, correct?
That's correct. Infantry officers will more likely be the ones to control them, seeing how they will have direct access and direct feed to those drones and be able to see where they're going and what they see on the ground in order to better decide where they want to deploy or allocate their troops. All right, so that will be an asset that the infantry officer himself, the 0302, will be controlling. However, it's not just infantry Marines. There will be, communications Marines. There could be
data, right?
Absolutely. There could be signals intelligence Marines deployed or attached to a platoon in order to control those assets and stuff. So, yeah, they're a great asset if you can get your hands on one.
Yeah. All right. Now, as far as moving forward, do you have any upcoming deployments or anything like that coming up, or are you going to? What's your role right now as an active duty ground intelligence officer?
So what my role is right now is basically we're just preparing for our major exercise that's coming up within the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to be acting as the G2, as I mentioned earlier. G2 is intelligence section. And I'll be acting as the G2 watch officer on the COC, which is a Combat Operations Center floor. So the way that the COC works is, without giving away too much, you'll have all of your sections of the MAGTF all around the table, and you will have everyone speaking and contributing their portion of the combat operations to one head. Therefore, everyone is tracking on what everyone else is doing. So where my job is I take real world intelligence or real world information, and I give it back to my counterparts in the G2 for them to analyze it and produce real world intelligence. There's a difference between information. Information is just raw information. If I say you're wearing camis, that's not information. But if I were to say you're wearing camis with your name tape Henderson, that's intelligence. You know what I mean? So that is where my role comes into. I generate information into actionable intelligence, and I feed it to the commander.
Solid. Got a few questions in lieu. So what made you want to join the Marine Corps first?
Somebody told me they were the best. Hands down,
It's a pretty solid answer for me.
when I was smaller, when I was in high school, I had a mentor, Gunnery Sergeant Lewis, and he was.
Was he a recruiter?
No, he was my instructor in high school JROTC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to a Naval High School JROTC program. I was
Which
in
high school?
Llewellyn High School, Locust Grove, Georgia.
Okay, so.
Yep, and Gunnery Sergeant Jimmy Lewis, he's still teaching there to this day. And, from day one, I noticed, his mannerisms. I noticed his discipline, his attention to detail, the way he spoke to people. He was firm but fair. And I'm just thinking, like, wow, like, that is what I want to emulate. Like, that's who I want to be and stuff. So I followed in his footsteps.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Now, when you came in the Marine Corps, did you know you wanted to be an intelligence or ground intelligence officer?
Absolutely. That's actually the only thing that I wanted to do. When I first enlisted back in 2015, January 2015, I was at Parris Island. Went through the entire enlisted chain.
So you went to boot camp?
I went to boot camp at Parris Island, right. And, I came out as an 1833 or an AAV crew, amphibious assault vehicle crewman. And, I was only enlisted for about 9 months before I got selected to go to OCS. And then, I went to OCS, I became an officer, and I fulfilled my dream to become intelligence. It's all I've ever wanted.
So before you joined the Marine Corps, then you went to school?
Absolutely.
So
right.
You graduated to college, all that good stuff, enlisted in the Marine Corps, and decided to become an officer.
Right.
All right. That's a solid background. So now, boot camp. We'll go back to boot camp real quick. So we got a few questions. Now, what was boot camp like for you? How did you prepare? So what actually, steps did you take to prepare yourself mentally and physically for boot camp?
So I will say that boot camp actually, it was not as difficult as I thought it was. And that's simply because of my personal way of dealing with a very rigorous training program that I'm about to undergo. I always psych myself out to think that it's going to be the worst thing that I've ever been through. There's no way I'm going to complete this and stuff. And by the time I'm going through it, I'm thinking to myself, this is actually not that bad. Plus, to be honest with you, college prepared me for boot camp. Late nights, staying up late, writing papers. I was also in college ROTC for 2.5 years and stuff. So being on that rigorous PT training program, it molded me and it prepared me, and I also went into boot camp with a more mature mind. I was already 25 years old by the time I enlisted, so I had a more mature mind. I had experienced a little bit more in the world, and I knew what was going to be expected of me at boot camp. I thought it was just a paid vacation away from.
So you say, like, seeing that gunny sergeant in high school,
right?
Did that instill the type of discipline that you needed?
Absolutely.
For college?
Absolutely.
And you just honed that skill, the will, discipline, and then you went to boot camp.
Absolutely. So what Gunny Lewis always used to tell me was we do what we have to do in order to do what we want to do. So at the end of the day, if you spent all day without conducting any PT or physical training, and you get home, the first thing everybody wants to do is throw this uniform off, and just sit on the couch, and catch up on Scandal or something. But a good Marine will take this uniform off, He'll get into some PT attire, and then he'll go hit the pavement and catch up on those miles that he missed earlier that day.
Solid. Discipline above all.
Right.
All right. If someone's interested in your MOS, so what should they do? And I'll rephrase this. So how can they prepare to go into a field such as ground intelligence or intelligence?
Well, so the thing about O203s is we have a very...
That's ground intelligence
yes,
for the audience?
Yes, that's ground intelligence. Apologies. The thing about us is we have a very unique MOS. You're not just required to be mentally sharp. You have to be physically sharp as well.
To lead Marines.
Exactly. People think, intelligence officer, he's just going to stay in a room and he's just going to analyze documents. That is not the case. As I stated earlier, I went to all ground intelligence officers have to go through infantry officers course. So
and that's in Quantico, Virginia.
That is in Quantico, Virginia, and it is one of the harder schools that the Marine Corps has to offer.
Would you say that was the most difficult school you've been through?
I would,
so far?
Yes, sir. I would say it was the most difficult school I've been through thus far.
All right, good stuff. So Danny, we've got a question from Danny. Danny's asking, I am not sure if I should enlist or go to college first. So what do you recommend?
I would recommend
Since
him.
You took both routes.
I would recommend him going to college first.
Okay.
And if he still wants to enlist after college, he should do so, because those who supervise him and those who are, in positions above him, they will see that extra, world experience that he already has by going through college. So I would absolutely advise him to go to college first.
What about the Marines, or I would say the prospects that want to enlist straight out of high school?
Well,
and they want to go on the enlisted side of, let's say, intelligence.
If they want to go on the enlisted side of intelligence side, I suggest they get in contact with their career monitor and see what they can do. You have to be, in order to go intelligence, you have to be TSSCI read in. And TSSCI is top secret, sensitive compartmentalized information. So you have to be read into that. They have to conduct a single scope background investigation, and you have to pass that. So by the time that you are cleared to even conduct any intelligence operations, your paperwork is going to go through at least 6 different agencies.
So you need to be disciplined in high school.
Yes.
Mind your P's and Q's.
Right.
Stay on top of it.
Don't get in trouble with the law.
Yep. Yeah. So on the same aspect, your hometown, community connection and family life, in the Marine Corps. So as far as your community coming up before the Marine Corps, how did that prepare you as well?
So in my high school, my hometown high school, Luella High School.
That's in Georgia?
That's in Georgia.
South of Atlanta?
Right. There was only so many things that people were doing that were graduating from my high school. Either they joined the military, either they stayed stuck at home, or very few of them went off to college, I wanted to leave, and I knew that the military was something that I wanted to do, specifically the Marine Corps. And I knew that was my one-way ticket out and stuff, and I also wanted to see the world. I wanted to make a change, So growing up around those parts and seeing that everyone who had graduated before me, I was still seeing their faces, that was enough motivation for me to take the first step and join the Marine Corps.
Okay. Now, do you know anybody else from your hometown or your community that enlisted in the Marine Corps?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, like I said, Gunnery Sergeant Lewis is a very influential figure at Luella High School, and quite a lot of his former cadets have joined the Marine Corps.
So you think quite a few, I guess, that interacted with Gunny actually enlisted in the Marine Corps as well.
Right.
Okay, solid. Now, Amber's asking, I've got just shy of a year until my ship date. What should she focus on until then?
She should focus on. Well, that depends.
I think she's coming out of high school, still in high school.
Still in high school, okay.
Perhaps. So if I'm still in high school, or someone was still in high school, so if Amber was still in high school, or a prospect, what can they be doing physically?
I would say get your mind right. I would say get your mind right, because a lot of people take for granted. Everyone thinks that right when they're about to ship off to Marine Corps basic training, they say, "Oh, I got to get in shape for this. I got to get fit enough to do this. I got to do the obstacle course. I got to run 3 miles in this amount of time and stuff." No one takes into consideration the mental aspect of it and how mentally fit you must be. Like, for someone coming straight from high school, I would advise that individual to realize you are no longer in high school.
So if you got someone that's in high school and they want to join the Marine Corps, say intelligence is attracting them in some way, how can that benefit them in life after the Marine Corps? So they want to enlist, they want to get into the intelligence community, and after their 4 years or whatever their enlistment contract may be, how could that better them in the civilian world?
So that's a great question. One reason why a lot of people join the intelligence community or the IC is because once you're in the IC, it's very hard to get out of the IC.
Is that just because of, I would say, the intelligence, is that a field that they develop that technological skill in?
Right,
skill set?
right. Once you're able to conduct analysis, and generate products and stuff based off of just raw information, and you're actually able to generate that and make it into something worth looking at, then people from all kinds of different agencies will find that as a very valuable asset, and they'll come rushing to hire you.
Okay. So agencies and civilian community as well.
Absolutely. One of the, Defense Intelligence Agency, Central Intelligence Agency, FBI, NSA, all of those agencies love intelligence and analysis because you can't get enough of it. We can't get enough of it. Intelligence is the new battle space that we are fighting on.
And that experience you can't necessarily get out of, say, getting a 4-year degree in college either.
No.
You have to have that experience in that field,
Absolutely.
on the ground, or wherever that may be.
Absolutely.
Every day.
Right. So, I've seen quite a lot of agencies actually pass up the, college graduate who had a 4-year college degree in Homeland Security or political science and all those other things, and they go for the enlisted individual who only spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, but they were doing 4 years generating action, real world intelligence.
Just experience.
Exactly.
Okay. So now if someone were to get out for, say, experience in say the Marine Corps and intelligence, and they wanted to pursue a degree, that just makes it much more marketable.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, as far as like your long-term career goals, where do you see yourself going?
So, well, that actually,
Because you have a baby due.
I do have a baby. She's due on March 30th.
All right. So you and your wife, has your wife, how has she found the Marine Corps? I mean, you being in the Marine Corps and stuff. I mean, has that been something y'all have had to adjust to over the months? And
We have had to make just a few minor adjustments. The Marine Corps, just like life, it has a funny way of reshuffling one's priorities. And when it comes to the married life and stuff, you don't want to be the one who contributes to the statistic of armed service members having a high divorce rate. So there comes a time when you have to ask yourself, what is more important at this moment? Family and their well-being, or the job? And that's a very difficult decision that all Marines of all ranks and rates have to make. At some point in their career, they're going to have to make that decision.
it goes back to like winning battles, right?
Absolutely.
Every day. And now, as far as the upcoming deployments and whatnot, that's something the Marine Corps also prepares you for as well.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Is that something that they help you out with? That's something as far
Absolutely.
as family.
Absolutely.
Family's a priority, right?
Right. The Marine Corps likes to, we like to think of ourselves as one big family, so there's nothing that you're going through that another Marine has not gone through before you. All you have to do is find the right contact, reach out to them, and they will help you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That gunny.
There's always a gunny.
Yeah, there's always a gunny.
So, Scout Sniper School.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go through Scout Sniper School, correct?
So, ground intelligence officers go through an abbreviated portion of the Scout Sniper School. So, we go through Scout Sniper's Unit Leaders course.
Okay.
And basically what that is, it teaches us how to employ the weapons. It teaches us the capabilities of the weapons and things. But also, more importantly, it teaches the capabilities of your snipers.
To employ them.
To employ them in the battle space, absolutely.
Solid. Now, we got a few more questions coming in. All right, Robert's asking, so what's your proudest moment since you've been in the Marine Corps, career-wise?
Career-wise, okay, I was about to say that commercial, because that really was an honor.
That's good stuff. And if you haven't seen it, go to Marines.com.
But honestly, career-wise, I'd say was becoming an officer. For the longest time, I really wanted to be an officer. Back in Luella High School, NJROTC, no one was researching the officer path. Everyone who graduated before me was going enlisted right after high school. It was like clockwork. And I thought, well, I want to go to college first, And then I saw a different Marine Corps uniform, and it was like, what is that? And it's the officer uniform. And I said, that's what I want to be. So when I made that transition from Lance Corporal to Lieutenant, that was the proudest moment of my Marine Corps.
Would you
career.
say the enlisted path though helped you become a better officer?
Absolutely.
That helped you,
Absolutely.
pave that way to become an officer.
Oh yes, yes it did.
Discipline it. Parasylum.
Right. Like some people like to joke. You were only enlisted for a minute. That may be true, but I was enlisted nonetheless. I earned the title of Marine as an enlisted first, nonetheless. You know what I mean?
Touche.
So I still know what my enlisted counterparts are going through, and I can better make decisions based off of what's best for them. Because I lived that life as well.
Taking care of Marines.
Taking care of Marines.
Now, if someone is interested in becoming a Marine,
Mm-hmm.
all right, what are their next steps? So if I'm watching this right now, and I want to be a Marine, okay, somehow this has motivated someone to either get on the internet or pick up the phone. What's the next steps?
Hop in the car, go to Google Maps, and look up your local Marine Corps recruiter.
Or go to Marines.com, and go to our Facebook page, check it out. It'll route you, to multiple different avenues of requesting more information. So, all right, I gotta wrap this up. That's all the time we got for today. So we appreciate y'all's attendance. Thank you again for coming out.
Thank you for having
Appreciate
me.
it, brother. All right. See you guys later.